Hello, I'm Mary Rendina, Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the Community Associations Institute, and I'd like to welcome you to this CAI media presentation. CAI provides comprehensive education to board members, homeowners, and community managers. This presentation series, developed by CAI's Nevada chapter, brings educational information to board members all around our state, and it has been developed and presented by experienced board members, all of whom have completed CAI's award-winning DECAL education series. We thank our generous sponsors who make these complimentary presentations possible.
We at the Nevada Real Estate Division applaud you for volunteering to serve as a board member on your homeowners association.
Board members play a vital role in successful HOA management, which is why we believe that board member training and ongoing education is critical.
We're proud to support the effort of CAI's Nevada chapter to provide this innovative digital media training.
We'd also like to remind you that you can also contact the Real Estate Division or CAI for additional help.
Enjoy the presentation.
Hello, I'm Glenn Proctor, DECAL member, and I'll be your host and moderator for this video presentation. The purpose of this presentation is to help homeowner board members identify the do's and the don'ts of serving on a board. The unique format of this presentation will provide interactive discussion so that you can identify ethical and legal violations or concerns that you might have while serving in the official capacity on the board. Now, the first vignette we're going to see takes place at a public HOA meeting. There are 5 board members, each played by a DECAL member. Let me introduce you to the board now. There's the president. He's been here 6 years. He dominates all of the board decisions. Then we have the vice president, who's the president's best friend and agrees with whatever he says and really doesn't seem to be too concerned about board business. Then we have the treasurer, the next door neighbor and friend to the president, rather arrogant and controlling. Then we have the newly elected board member, the newbie. Basically a very nice guy, but clueless. Then we have our 5th board member, the rebel, antagonistic, wants to pick fights with the president all the time. And we have an audience homeowner who loves to ask questions during the meeting. Now, we've purposely left out the role of the community manager so that we can focus on the actions of the board themselves. Now, we encourage you to take a pen and pencil and identify the violations that you feel you see. Those notes will take place later on when you compare them with the realities.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have obviously 1 member absent.
I've already read the minutes from last meeting. They look fine to me. Let's move on.
The treasurer report is in good order, and for your information, I moved $50,000 into the reserves last month because we had too much money. I also had to cash in the 2 CDs that came to term, so we moved that money as well.
Excuse me, I have a question about that. Can you tell me just how much money we have in the bank, please?
I just told you, all you need to know is that everything is fine.
I can't believe you started this meeting again without me. The board packet was supposed to be in my mailbox. It wasn't. How do you expect me to be prepared for a meeting? You guys are ridiculous.
In the future, if you're going to be late to these meetings, you need to let me know in advance.
Well, I'm trying to read the packet now. You know, I'm looking at this, and what difference does it make? You guys had a meeting last night. You didn't invite us. You made all the decisions. I'm sitting here trying to read this now and be prepared, and I'm just not. How can you have a meeting without inviting us?
Well, wait a minute. Did I miss a meeting? I didn't remember any meeting. Did I miss a meeting?
There was no meeting last night. We just got together socially.
Did I hear that you moved money from one operating account to reserves without even getting a vote of the board? You're not supposed to do that.
Who cares what you think? You can't even read the financial report. I've been an accountant for 30 years, and you're going to question my integrity about the financial report?
Yeah,
Excuse me, I have a question. How much money do we have in reserves?
Young lady, if you ever attended a board meeting before, you'd know that you're not supposed to interrupt a meeting while we're conducting business. You just committed an illegal act. I could have you removed from this room. I'll let you ask a question after all of our business is taken care of. At this time, I'll take a motion to approve the new roof for the community center for $65,000 awarded to Mr. Fix-It.
I second that motion.
I just want to state for the record, I had work done at my house by Mr. Fix-It, and it was fantastic. There's no more leaks. I highly recommend him.
Well, wait a minute. I think that we should get a proposal from more than just one vendor. I really do.
We don't need another proposal. We have a personal recommendation from a board member.
Isn't he your cousin or uncle or some relative of yours? I mean, this is just crazy.
You know, hey, that has nothing to do with the quality of his work. Nothing at all.
See, I told you, they don't even include us. The three of them make all the decisions. I don't even know why we're here.
I have a question. Wouldn't it be a good idea to
This
get
is,
more quotes?
excuse me, this is the
Maybe a
last time
cheaper
I'm going
price?
to warn you. We are officials elected by the people of this community, and you have no say whatsoever in our decisions. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I guess so.
Didn't we talk last night about changing our landscaper? I just don't see it on the agenda.
You know what? We can do that in executive session. Let's not waste any more time here.
Well, I certainly don't remember any discussion on that. I mean, is there a problem or something?
That was in the addendum. I think I just forgot to give you a copy.
Well, I didn't get a copy of it. I don't see an addendum.
Well, that's because the manager forgot to include it in the packet. So since there's no other business, I suggest we adjourn.
Question again. I thought I was going to get a chance to talk here.
Fine, if you really feel you got to put your 2 cents in, after we made all the decisions, you just go right ahead.
I just think the board should allow homeowners to have more impact before you make decisions and spend our money.
What a novel idea that would be.
Hey, we spend hours and hours researching our decisions. We really do. And it's all on behalf of you homeowners. So I don't see anywhere where uninformed input is going to help the situation at all, won't make any difference. If you're so interested, why don't you run for the board?
You know what? It's time to go. We've already adjourned to executive session.
Don't we need like a motion and a second or something like that? Isn't that like protocol?
I'll make the motion. We are adjourned.
Wow, very interesting segment, wasn't it? Were you able to take notes on your various violations that you noticed? Those notes will be used in the next segment.
Hi, I'm Greg Toussaint. I served on my board for my HOA for 15 years, actually, and I'm also a decal. Donna?
Hi, my name is Donna Toussaint, and I have been volunteering in HOAs for approximately 20 years. I served as a president for a large master for 10, and I'm also a decal.
And my name is Chuck Niggemeyer. I'm a decal. I've been on my board for 12, going on 13 years. Been associated with HOAs for about 20 years total.
I just want to say that the vignette you saw earlier with the board meeting, all those items that you saw actually came from some real board meeting. These are not made up things. They really happened. I guess we can start off. Donna, why don't you talk about some of the things that you saw and some of the things you were concerned about in the meeting?
Well, I don't think we did anything right, but that was the intent. Arriving at board meetings is really important. It's so important. You have other people that depend on you, your other board members. Meetings usually last about an hour, maybe an hour and a half long. Be there, be prepared, really and truly. Look at your board packet at least a couple of days before. The reason why the character I played didn't look at her board packet was because it wasn't on her doorstep or in her mailbox, but she still should have known 2 days before that, and then she wouldn't have had the problem. She could have contacted the manager. Also, when it comes to financial reports, they can be really hard to understand. Work with your manager, work with your CPA, and learn how to do financial. What we did when I was on my board is every quarter, because it was such a large master, we'd actually have financial training. We'd actually have someone come in from our financial team and explain to us, especially new board members, what it means. And if you do that, the better prepared you are, the better meeting you're going to have.
The worst thing that seems to happen with these financials and board meetings is that someone comes to the meeting, opens the financial report, and starts asking questions about items that are on that financial report for the very first time. And the problem, of course, is that the manager may not be able to answer those questions. So it ends up making the meeting long and boring and not actually very useful. So I think you're right. You need to come to the board meeting prepared and knowing what's on the financial report. And if you've had questions, already asked them and gotten them answered.
I would follow on with the actual requirements is a review of the financial report, and that really didn't occur in that meeting at all. It was just the treasurer said everything's fine, if you would recall. That's not what a review is at all, by no means. She transferred money to the reserve account, which is okay, but the manner that she did it was completely wrong. I mean, she said she cashed in 2 CDs. Well, where'd that money go? She could have taken it and gone with it, actually. So you stop and think about transferring money or using money, whether it's in a reserve account or the operating account. A reserve account, you've got to have 2 signatures from executive board members, or at least 1 executive board member, and also a member who it might be an officer but it's not on the executive board. So that's a reserve requirement all the time. Always 2 signatures. Now, operating accounts are a little bit different, but it still requires 2 signatures, obviously. The executive board member and an officer can sign it, or in some cases, if you don't have an executive board member available or one of the officers available, then a community manager could actually sign checks to pay bills.
And one thing I certainly wouldn't ever want as a board member to transfer funds from my reserve account to the operating account without first talking to my attorney, because I think you're already treading on legal ground there.
And you can actually transfer money automatically to your reserve account as long as you have that procedure to do that. I thought it was interesting. They had a lot of excess money. Well, who decided to put it in the reserve account? If you have excess money, you actually could do an assessment holiday,
Who decides if it's excess or not?
So anyway, it was an interesting discussion. You notice there was just cut off by the treasurer, who obviously run everything with an iron fist.
I felt sorry for you.
Yes, I know, that's okay.
But I think the most important thing is really and truly rely on your experts. They're there for a reason. You as a homeowner, as a board member, you're not an expert in everything. You can't be. And even if you were a CPA, you couldn't be the CPA for the association. That wouldn't be right. If you're an attorney, you can't be the attorney for the association.
Correct.
So rely on your experts. They're your bread and butter. They're the people that are going to save your, what.
And moving along to some of the other items that were obviously not done very well. I mean, you didn't get the agenda at all, or the
No.
and I had items that weren't on the agenda. Even the vice president noticed that, hey, there's something not on there.
Some of those are ever on the agenda.
They're never on the agenda. So it's hard to get a feel for a meeting if you don't see that agenda ahead of time. Know what those items are. And it's like you said, you have to ask questions in advance. Otherwise, the meeting is kind of chaotic and you don't do anything.
And awarding contracts in executive session to your friends and your relatives, that's a really big no-no. Really big no-no.
The proposals, I get obviously, if you have some project you're going to do, you're going to submit a request for proposal to people. You know the details that are going to be out there. And obviously in this meeting, the details were known by 3 people, not everybody like they should have been. And there looked like, obviously, there was only 1 proposal. Did they go out and ask for that? I don't know. We couldn't tell. The requirement is that you do that. And the only way you know it is to be familiar with that proposal. So you don't ask the dumb questions like I did as playing that character in there. I didn't know.
And read them aloud.
That's
at
right.
At your open board meeting.
Have to do that.
You do.
I thought it was interesting also that the interruptions that occurred throughout the meeting. I mean, that meeting was so chaotic at times, you know, it was amazing. Homeowner there was a homeowner who had a legitimate question, and the president just cut him off. You know, we have enough problems getting homeowners to come to meetings. Now, how do you think that homeowner wants to come back? She never got the question answered. She was summarily just dismissed, threatened with legal action to be removed. So, you know, you have to treat everybody fairly, have to listen to them, see what the question is, and answer them if you can. It was at that point in a meeting, she had every right to ask that question. She may never come back to a meeting, so we have to be courteous, listen to the question, and answer them if at all possible.
I agree. The other thing is it's really important in meetings to avoid angry responses and personal attacks. I mean, there were a whole lot of those in this meeting by everybody, it seemed.
Including the board members.
Including the board members, including the homeowner. I mean, it was everybody. It was a free-for-all. Board members used anger and threats against the homeowner and against each other. And number one, it's just wrong. It's just basically wrong. These are your neighbors. It's not how you treat neighbors, not how you interact with neighbors. And two, it's against the law. NRS 116 prohibits behavior that is threatening or harassing, causes emotional distress, creates a hostile environment. It's the law. And your meetings are generally audio recorded, so there's evidence of your behavior. Violators of this law are guilty of a misdemeanor. So you also have the commission, the Commission for Common Interest Communities and Condominium Hotels, which can review and give a hearing to homeowners who've been accused of violating the rules and the law. And they can fine the board member or board for their transgressions, and they can also remove board members from their boards. So it's pretty serious stuff. And mistreating homeowners is just a no-no. Regardless of whether you like that person or not, you don't have to like them, but you do have to be courteous and respectful. Parliamentary procedure. That was one of those things that didn't happen in this meeting.
No kidding. Wow.
They didn't follow any rules at all. And NRS 116 requires that a board do one of two things: either adhere to Robert's Rules of Order, which are long and complicated and most people don't really understand them, or they must have approved in advance a set of parliamentary procedures for their community that they will use, which are usually simpler and less complicated.
Most homeowners associations do that because it is simpler. And it's
But if
easier
you
to
don't have a
understand.
policy, you have to use Robert's Rules of Order. And it is important that boards always follow either Robert's Rules of Order or their own policy.
And there's nothing wrong with Robert's Rules of Order, but they can be kind of cumbersome at times, follow the exact procedure. So if there are new communities being formed out there and your boards are being elected, it certainly would be, I think, a good idea to go through your procedure and so that you don't have to follow Robert's rules to the letter. That's a very good suggestion on your part.
The other issue that I saw, which frequently happened in this meeting, was there were lots of ethical violations. People making decisions or making statements that really are contrary to ethical behavior. And what is ethical behavior? First of all, it's doing the right thing for the community, not for you, not for your friend. What's the best thing for this community? And also, you can ask yourself, how would this look? If I were sitting in the audience watching this meeting, how would it look if I made a decision or made a statement? If it sounds ethical, great, but if it sounds like it's self-serving, it's not.
Well, I think the important thing is always treat people who come into your meetings, they're your friends, your neighbors, your homeowners, the way you would like to be treated if you were walking into the meeting. And if you do that, you'll never have a problem.
That's right. Now, in this meeting, we had a treasurer moving money without board approval, which is basically illegal.
It is.
Just to put it simply, but certainly an ethical violation. It failed to provide all the board members with information that they were due. They should have had. They should have had an addendum that didn't show up, for example, and then suddenly the meeting pushed through the decision. That's not right. You have to have the information so that board members can make an informed decision. Same thing with a homeowner. He never got his financial information, which you had mentioned.
Yep.
You don't have to have it at that meeting necessarily. It may not, maybe the information he's asking for is not readily available, but you have a responsibility to get that information to that homeowner in a timely fashion.
The treasurer just said, I've reviewed it and done this, and there was no discussion at all, none. We couldn't even find out how much money we had in the bank,
Right.
which is a very easy question. And it was there.
And then he discussed the landscape contract at some kind of private meeting. We didn't really explain what it was, but obviously it wasn't a noticed board meeting, and that's the only time you're supposed to be discussing these matters between board members. So that decision obviously had already been made prior to the meeting. That's a no-no. And they didn't seek bids for anything. Now, whether or not bids are required in this situation, I guess would depend upon the law and their CC&Rs and their situation. But generally speaking, bids are strongly encouraged and in many cases required. Well, there were so many things wrong with this meeting, there's not really time to list them all. And you probably found lots of things we haven't mentioned yet. So we hope you enjoyed this, and we thank you for listening.
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this and learned. Now, if you'd like to learn more, perhaps you can use one of our other video presentations, or take a CAI class, or even perhaps become a DECAL member. If you wish to do that, please contact CAI at info@cai-nevada.org. Thank you for watching this presentation.